takes about 10-15 minutes, and then you basically enter the data in an ERP system. So the way we looked at it is like, is there a way that we can come up with a solution that augments people? And I think that's what the future is all about. Is we only have a limited number of people in this industry, so how can we make these people's life easier while achieving more results? And so we started off with the automation of this quality control process, and where a human inspector could analyze a sample every 10-15 minutes. Now with the help of a machine, a sample can be done in about 4 or 5 minutes, and one human can manage multiple machines. So all of a sudden, you create basically more throughput in a human by providing the right tools. And so here's a couple of pictures of installations. Most of the machines are used in QC labs, but we do have some auto sampling systems where samples are automatically taken out of the line, go through the machine without even a person touching it. And then if you look over to our booth, you would say, yeah, what's the difference between here and what we see there? So last year we did launch a new machine, QcifEye, what's in the name? And so the reason why we developed that machine was because people said, like, is there a way that we can analyze more than just that 500 grams, more than just that 1,000-gram sample? Is there a way that we can track how many pieces of foreign are still in a bin or in our product? So we launched this machine last year, but we already started the development in 2019. Of course, we all know what happened in 2020, and all of a sudden it's like, I don't want to just know how many pieces of foreign are in the product, but if you see that piece of shell, why not just pick it out? And that was all driven by the fact that we were not able as an industry to find enough laborers to do the hand picking, the final inspection. And so that's why this machine kind of brought a solution. And I think the title of the presentation was about robots. And I think when most people think about robots, you think about those two upper pictures. You think about an arm grabbing something, doing something. And especially the picture on the right-hand side should look familiar. So companies have tried to build automatic robot pickers over the years. But what robots are really about is like, how can we automate a process? How can we replace a process that's typically done by a human? Why I highlighted the two lowest bullets is like, very often we look at a human operation, how a human does something, and we just try and build the same thing. And basically a robot, well, when we look at a human, what do we see? We see a computer, a set of eyes, and we see two robotic arms. But we don't necessarily need to exactly match what a human does. We just need to get the job done, and ideally in the most efficient way. So that's why robots should be seen wider or bigger than just a couple of arms doing something. And that's where also where the QcifEye machine fits in. And I think why we should heavily look, and not just when it comes to QcifEye, but any process in a plant, why we should heavily look at using robotics or technology is, first of all, the main driver, and I think everybody got faced with in the past couple of years, is the labor situation. It's not just about the rising cost of labor, but it's also how do we find enough people to basically show up day in, day out at the plant. So it's harder to find people, but as a food industry, as an ag industry, all of a sudden we're also no longer competing with the next pack house or the processor over, but we're also competing with, for example, that new Amazon warehouse that opens up down the street. And that is where several facilities have been heavily impacted as well. Because as we all know, as humans, it's always the grass is greener on the other side. And people are like, okay, let's now move into that Amazon warehouse and do a job there. So I think the labor situation has dramatically shifted over the past years. And just the operational cost, I think due to COVID, but I think it was already like building up prior, life becomes more expensive. And whether that's the cost of farming, whether that's because of the water situation we have in California, the cost of electricity, shipping, definitely did not become cheaper, and inflation in general. I mean, everybody's talking about inflation. It's a word that, yeah, you get sick and tired of, but it's just life is becoming more expensive. And so we have to try and find better alternatives to basically cap those expenses, or to at least keep them more in control. And then, yeah, the last bullet I think everybody is dealing with as well is like the whole supply chain. I think what happened in the last couple of years is this world realized like the way we used to do business, the way we ship products, whether it's almond shipping from California to Europe, or on the equipment side, shipping some components from Asia or South America to Europe, that whole dynamic has shifted. And I think that is one of the main things that we should use to reevaluate what we all do, no matter what business we're in. And I think the last bullet, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against humans, but we need to take that human emotion out of our decision making. It's like if we have the right data, there's only one decision we can make. And so that's why I added here with the supply chain management as well. So going back to 2 slides ago, you would say, well, the boot looks the same. What's the difference? Well, these pictures kind of show what we've been up to in the last year. So most companies last year that stopped by said like, okay, I still have hand pickers. How can this machine help me out? We've been demoing a lot. This is the result of several installations, but it is possible to step away from human inspection. Will a QcifEye machine be the sole solution? For sure not. I'm not saying here this is going to replace everything. You still need your mainstream sorters. You still need several pieces of equipment. But if after all that equipment you still have some people, then yes, we do believe that we're the answer to that. This is just a marketing thing. And why should you consider like QcifEye and use it as, let's say, a robot or a less human way of hand picking? I think one of the main points of feedback that we've gotten from a lot of people is like the ease of installation, how easy it is to basically implement this in your system. Everybody already has hand pick lines, hand sort tables, existing infrastructure. The last thing you want to do is rip it all out and rebuild that room. So basically it's easy to implement. It just runs off a regular 110 outlet. So yeah, it's fairly simple. I think the operational cost is another thing. We try to build the machine, hence why we don't have robot arms moving around. We try to build the machine in a very robust way. Why? Because the more moving parts, the higher the chances that something breaks down. And what is difficult for us to control in the new supply chain situation is the supply of parts. So the last thing you want to do is deal with something that you can try and prevent. And you can run it 24/7. The ease of use, our mindset is always like, if we cannot train somebody in 5 minutes or less how to use the machine, we're doing something wrong, or we're explaining it to the wrong person. But nevertheless, we always blame ourselves first. So yeah, ease of use, I think, is something that, whether it's our equipment, other equipment, that is the way forward. Because ultimately, the more complex a system is, the more complex it is to operate, yeah, the harder it will get to keep it operational at a high level. And then I think the last one, it doesn't immediately affect your operations, but as a company, we have an extreme high appetite for innovation. We always want to come up with new solutions, but not just like throw around some names, but it's like, is there a process that we can help and optimize? And can we do it in a way so that the payback for the equipment is a year, 2 years at max? Because I think that's important as well. You no longer want to say like, I'm going to invest in something, and let's say maybe 10 years down the road we'll figure out whether it paid off or not. We try to keep that payback time as short as possible. And speaking of payback, I think no matter what solution, whether it's us or somebody else, whatever solution is brought to market, the return on investment is one of the real important things to look at. I mean, yes, it needs to get the job done, but then also if it gets the job done, how quickly can we pay for an equipment? So here's a simple calculation of one of the projects we did. Customer having 10 hand sort lines, one person per line, mainly focusing on foreign material, some last remaining paper shells. They run 8-hour shifts, 5 days a week, 48 weeks a year. You would say, and probably some of you think like, yeah, but hourly wage is not at $20. I think $20 is still an underestimate if you look at the total cost of humans. Yes, we might be at $17, but if you start adding in everything, I think we're even closer to 22, but we settled on 20. And so your annual cost to run a hand sort room with 10 people with that schedule is basically $768,000. Roughly average cost $38,000. Then if you look on the QcifEye side of things, we have those same 10 lines. We have one box per line as well, roughly about 85,000. Whether that price is 100% right or wrong, it fluctuates depending on the amount of units you have. So we did a calculation on annual electrical costs, compressed air, because we want to do an all-in calculation, service costs. But let's say in order to get those 10 units in, it roughly costs you about $850,000. So just for the payback of the equipment, you're looking at 1.1 year. Feedback we have now gotten from most of our customers is that it's substantially lower. I'll leave it up to them to do that calculation. But then you have to look at the lifetime of your equipment. And 7 years, I think, is realistic. Most companies use equipment for longer than 7 years. But even if you would do the calculation just on the 7 years, with all our costs, electrical, compressed air, service, all it, you're looking at hand sorters, a cost of 5.3 million versus 1.1 million with the QcifEyes. And I think those numbers are the reason why we have quite a few installations out there. Getting to the end of the presentation, this might look similar to what we did last year. So we care about this industry and we care about the future even more. And so for us, it makes sense to team up with FFA, also again this year. And basically all the donations through the silent auction will be matched by us up to $25,000. So if you want to make us spend money, you know where to go and bid on those prices. So that was about it. I don't know if there's questions, but yeah, feel free to stop by at the booth afterwards also, or if there's questions now.
We do have time for questions if there are any questions from the audience.
Is the recommendation for 1 unit per line or 2 units after a waterfall?
Yeah, the easiest answer to that is it can be both. And you have to look at like your current situation. If you currently have like 1 person per line, then I would say start off with 1 box per line. If you currently have 1 person pre and 1 post waterfall or drop, you can do the same. It does not affect your payback time. Because how you have to look at these boxes is like, let's say you have 10 people, you would be looking at 10 boxes. Your payback is still the same whether you have 1 or 2. Of course, the payback gets double if you say I now have 1 person and I'm going to put 2 boxes per line, which I'm perfectly fine with as well. But so yeah, the easiest way to look at it is like, what is your current situation, and also what defects are you targeting? So the reason why you often have like, whether it's humans or QcifEye boxes, 1 before, 1 after the waterfall, is to try and see both sides. Or if you are targeting single-sided defects, let's say a brown spot, a chip, a pinhole, it could be single-sided, and then having that waterfall and a second inspection would make sense. If you say I'm just looking at like rocks and paper shells, doesn't matter how it's oriented, then you would end up with 1 box.
Great. I had a question, Raf. I kind of mentioned it a little bit beforehand, but I think one of the challenges of buying technology is it's constantly being outdated by the next technology. So how do you address that with your customers and make sure that they have the most current technology?
So one thing which I think we do slightly different at QcifEye is even the customers who bought the equipment 5 years ago, they still run the exact same software as somebody who would buy the equipment today. So our view has always been like, can we spend the money and the resources on having the most advanced software? Because software you can always upgrade. And you're not looking at a huge cost to add new sensors. So yeah, we're definitely software driven. And twice a year we do a calibration, an upgrade of the software with every single piece of equipment. Yes, there is an annual cost related to it, but at the moment all but one customers are paying that cost. And so for us it's like, if we keep doing those upgrades and those calibrations, the best indication if a customer sees value in it is if they keep doing those. And so at the moment, yeah, it's even the ones that were the first test customers, they still have the exact same software as the current ones. Yes. So with the QC machine, we have a couple of customers using them on blanching. With the QcifEye, there's more blanching done in Europe, so we just have a few more installs there on blanching than we have here in California. But on both sides of the ocean, they are using the machines on blanching. Yes. Yeah.
Great. I think that's about all the time we have, but obviously their booth is right here. So if you want to go see how it all works, there they are. So
Yeah,
head
thank
on
you.
over.
And we do have Belgian chocolate, so feel free to stop by. Thank you.